Hey, it's another day, it's another stream, and hopefully today we don't have too many quantum fluctuations in the Matrix, right? Where did all that come from yesterday? I do not know. But I have got some pretty ancient themed woo for us today. Hey, what do you expect? It's just another day in 2020. So, welcome back, all you crazy Wookiees out there. And before we go anywhere today, big shout out to Algorithm for last night's absolutely tremendous conversation about just about everything that I think I could squeeze in a 2-hour show. He was very, very, how will I put it? Very flexible. Sometimes when I get excited, I drag guests here, there, everywhere. I go from one topic to the next because I want to touch on so many bases when I've got somebody like Algo on the show. Not because I agree with everything that Algo has to say. I don't agree with everything that anyone has to say. But so that you people out there could get a taste of some of the things that Algo talks about, some of the kind of ways he views the world, and hopefully, in the true KBS fashion, we head on over to Algorithm's channel, show him some love, and click that subscribe button. Hopefully I'll remember to show you that channel before we leave today. And then when we got off the show last night, I tell you, I might be creating a couple of animals here. But Algo and Polly then went live over on Algorithm's channel, and they talked about the Mandela effect and a whole heap of time woo and really, really good stuff that I only intended to maybe, jump in, show some support, but I think it was maybe an hour or so later, I still found myself tuned in. But guys, that was a really good conversation, really good. Myself and Andy are going to be hooking up sometime real soon to talk about similar stuff. So keep your eyes open for that one. And today, after I go into the chat room, we've got a real ancient type theme to the show today. We've got pterodactyls, mammoths, not our mammoth from the chat room, or maybe it is. Maybe she is 10,000 years old and they've just dug her out of a lake in Russia. I don't know. But we've got mammoths, yes. And we've got prehistoric bacteria making a big comeback in, surprise, surprise, 2020. But before we get there, let me head on over to the chat room. Because if it wasn't for all of you people, I wouldn't be here, okay? So big shout out to Pollination, Tony Phillips, the Wookie. We've got Sid, Little Glob, Gemini, the worrisome, or that's worrisome, you better run. We've got Cheryl in there again. Good to see you back, Cheryl. Hope you're not working too hard. Justin Goodearth, Gemini, Brian. First Paranormal, he's got a Crowley video out now. Yes, a creepy, crawly, Crowley video. So I urge you all to turn down the lights and head on over to Jason's channel. Not right now. Wait until I'm at least halfway done. First Paranormal in the chat room. Remember, show Polly some love as well. Head on over there for some chillaxing music. We have got Ronald, Nothing As It Seems, Rorschach, John Nelson, Cowabunga to you as well. Dang, man, that's years since I heard that, right? Cowabunga? Is that like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Was it? Kevin's telling me it is, so yeah. Now, Lance says, thanks for breaking TFR yesterday. Good work. Dude, if I broke TFR, then I blame all of you. Maybe we just took too many listeners over to the network yesterday. I didn't even realize there was a problem with TFR after I left yesterday. It's not really that technical. You just hang up on the Skype call. I don't think there's any physical way I could have broken it. Maybe something was up with Lucky and Dr. Brooks Agnew. I'm not too sure. Usually see Lucky kicking about in the chat room before I leave on a Monday. Can't remember seeing her in there yesterday. So I hope everything's okay there. And I'll be on TFR later today with our good friend, ready? Nano Girl. Yep. And her show today is going to be called A Time for Heroes. Yeah, I think that's pretty apt. We have got the Bearded Traveller in there. We've got Sid. Sid was first. Yes, our Norwegian friend. The man that asked Don Wiskin about ancient aliens and herbs. Never forget that, Sid. That is a golden moment in KBS. It truly, truly is. So, we're going to get into the pterodactyls. I know, pterodactyls. We're going to get into the mammoth, and we're going to get into the bacteria. But just to give you a taste of what weirdness sometimes my days entail. Yesterday, maybe one too many thinking stick before I came on the show. Probably 2 or 3 too many. PPP, everyone. But, yeah, I went into some really weird rabbit holes yesterday. And the one thing I can remember from the weird rabbit holes was quantum fluctuations. And we all got a good laugh at that, didn't we? We all had a good little giggle at that. So, today, I go on my little mystery tour, as I do, looking for my woo. And I got the science websites. We don't really talk about science much recently. I'm going to get back into that. But this headline here, it really caught my eye. And it says the Hubble constant from 8 time delay galaxies. Now, it wasn't that bit that really made me sit up and think, weird. But we're definitely in some kind of simulation here. It's this image. This image is pretty cool, right? It's really cool when you zoom in and you see that one of the tags on here is called, ready? Quantum fluctuations. And then if that wasn't enough, then there's another article out right now. And, well, it's not right now, but I came across this today when I Googled quantum fluctuations. It's actually a thing. It truly is a thing. I've probably spoken about it with Anthony Patch before. Probably why it was in my brain somewhere. It got dislodged from a neural network and came back to the fore yesterday, and we had some fun with it. But these quantum fluctuations, they're just something out of nothing. Like, 1 minute they're here, next minute they're gone, they're entangled. They make up possibly the foundation of absolutely everything. Kind of like what I was suggesting yesterday, that perhaps we're all just an echo of a quantum fluctuation that's been produced by super intelligent beings. There you go. So with that out of the way, that's weird, right? Quantum fluctuations. We should call that. We need a band or something called that. Yes. So shall we get into our really, really typical 2020 headline day? Shall we? I think we should. And the reason this next story stands out to me is because if you were on the show the other night, we had Bill Bean in the house. Big shout out to Bill Bean. And we had Travis Short in the house as well. Now, Travis, he has impressed me no end with his knowledge on all things Mothman. He loves a good bit of woo. He's a bit boisterous like me as our Travis as well. He likes a good toxic joke from time to time. So I'm really enjoying getting on with Travis, and I think the three of us, me and Bill and Travis, I think we do all right. We make a pretty good lineup. Travis brought to the table a really, really interesting photograph. Now, you might have seen it at the time, you might not. But this is why, really, pterodactyls stood out today, more so than they usually would. Anytime a headline about pterodactyls is going to stand out, let's be serious. But, remember this photograph here? This is a photograph taken by somebody who was not taking photographs of that thing, whatever it is, but they were taking photographs of the sky. And when they went back and took a look through their photographs, this is what they found. Now, I blew it up at the time. You can see it a bit more detail there. Now, until we get our hands on the actual metadata from the memory storage device that this image was written onto, then really I can't take it too much further than that's a weird looking thing. It could be some kind of drone, don't know. It's certainly no bird that I know off the top of my head, right? So weird flying humanoid, weirdness type things, right? And then I've not been on Mysterious Universe for a couple of days, but when I go back there today, you guessed it, we have got a crazy pterodactyl story. So I'm just going to get into a little bit of this. We can discuss a bit of it. Scott Lopez, he talks about the pterodactyls a lot. I think we had somebody else on the show recently talking about flying humanoids. Is there things out there flying about in the sky that we don't know about? I would absolutely bet my last dollar on it. Absolutely. We're discovering new species of things every day. And no, I'm not saying we're still to discover literally half man, half moth out there in the woods around Point Pleasant. I'm not saying that, but there are things that we don't know about. The unknown unknowns, or the known unknowns, right? So the pterodactyls, look at that bad boy there. Now, does that look like that? Not really, eh? I suppose if you that there, that looks like the things on that bit. Oh, I'm only hey, who knows? I don't know. Confirmation bias, seen patterns that definitely don't exist. There you go. So it says, why do so many people see pterodactyls? I know, 2020, right? People are seeing pterodactyls. Not the first time I've covered something like this. So that may sound like a strange title for an article. And the fact is, though, that people really do claim to see pterodactyls. Or at least they see something that resembles such creatures. Now, I'm absolutely... we looked at that, was it Flying Fox or the Flying Phoenix thing the other day? That big, huge, scary 5-foot long bat. Remember it was hanging off the roof and it looked like some kind of Marvel bad guy Batman. Not like the Batman, but like an evil Batman. Like a not a good one. Not the kind of Batman you want anywhere near you. Remember that thing? If you seen that flying, I mean, I'd probably think it was the Mothman. Maybe if a quick glance, pterodactyl, if it made a weird wah kind of noise, you know, I've got pterodactyl noise, we can do that. So it says, or at least they see something that resembles such creatures, and all I can feel is Kevin looking at me thinking, my dad's sitting there talking about pterodactyls. Yes. With all that said, let's now take a look at some cases of the very weird kind. Now, the continent of Africa is the reported home of numerous unknown creatures and wild monsters. A wealth of such stories comes from Boka-Onde and Kaonde tribes in Zambia. It's largely thanks to an early 20th century explorer called Frank H. Melland that we know of the accounts of these immense and fearsome flyers. So Melland's sources in the tribes told him that the most feared of all the monsters of the skies was the Kongamato, and its name means overwhelmer of boats. So you're talking about something that, by the sounds of it, like it says on the tin or on its wings, it overwhelms a boat. Now, even if that's a small rowing boat, that's a handy bit of bird. That's a weapon. That's the kind of thing you don't want to be going toe to toe with, especially if you're not on dry land. So it says the name is a very apt one, since it had the habit of swooping down on canoes and savagely attacking and getting rid of the people that are in the canoes. It was a huge beast that lived in and hunted in the Juindu swamps and which deeply terrified the people of the area. Now, as for the appearance of the Congamato, it looked somewhat like a bird at first glance, and that it utterly lacked feathers, however, and the fact that its red body was leathery looking, was membranous, and had wings far more befitting those of a bat, suggests it was something else entirely. I mean, that featherless bird, that leathery looking membranous skin, that sounds pretty dinosaur to me. I'm just saying. So, moreover, its immense mouth was filled with sharp teeth that could slice a man in two in an instant, which is not something typical with the average bird. No, I would agree there. So, acting purely on instinct, when Melland explored the area in 1924, a trip which he chronicled in his 1923 book, In Witch-Bound Africa, he showed the local tribespeople artistic renditions of various presumed extinct, what's that? Pterosaurs? Yeah, that's how you say it, isn't it? Yeah, got you. Including one of a pterodactyl. Now, on seeing these pictures, the tribespeople cried one word, and one word only. Congamato. Now, the reason I got kind of thrown off there, folks, is I must have read this wrong. Or is this like some kind of act of time traveling, right? Acting purely on instinct when Melland explored the area in 1924. So he explored the area in 1924, but it's a trip that he wrote about in a 1923 book. Is it just me that sees that there's some kind of issue with that, or have I read that totally wrong? I mean, I know I'm not the sharpest tool in the box. I'm certainly no pterodactyl if you were to compare me to birds. But, dang, maybe the pterodactyl isn't the most interesting thing about this story. So it says, since 1995, Puerto Rico has been the domain of deadly blood-sucking creatures that has infamously become known as the chupacabra. So long before the now legendary beast was on anyone's radar, however, there was another vampire-like monster roaming around on the island. A vampire? An island? Yeah, it's not a pterodactyl that comes to mind. Just saying. It was known as the Mocha vampire. And it's its name taken from the municipality of Mocha, no less, which can be found in the northwest of the island and which is home to around 40,000 people. Now, unlike the chupacabra, sightings of which continue to this day, the Vampiro de Mocha, I like that, cool name, as it was referred to on Puerto Rico, was a monster of a definitively here 1 minute and gone the next. So the controversy began in February 1975, and that was when the population of Mocha was plunged into a collective state of fear. And it was hardly surprising. Numerous ranchers reported how their farm animals were being violently slaughtered under the cover of darkness and systematically drained of large amounts of that life source. Now, the first area targeted was the Barrio Rocha region, where several goats, at least 4 pigs, numerous chickens, none of them blue, and more than a dozen cows were all found, passed away, with puncture marks on their body and deep claw wounds on their skin, and all missing one vital ingredient, the red stuff. So villagers and farmers were as outraged as they were terrified, and local authorities, and chiefly the police, tried to diffuse the controversy by attributing the attack to nothing stranger than the work of packs of wild dogs, a theory that, most inevitably, was received with nothing but scorn, skepticism, and disdain. That sounds like something out of Skinwalker Ranch, right? In that show that I keep on talking about, they bring in, is it llamas? They bring in a type of animal anyway, and it's I'm going to be honest, it's quite horrible because they're basically using the animals as bait to whatever the bloody hell is going on at Skinwalker. And That's the kind of attacks that they get, like big scratches, and just couldn't pin down what on earth's name it was. Now, I'm not saying it was a pterodactyl, okay? But at the end of the first week in March 1975, the tally was close to 3 dozen. And it was in the same week. Now, you do appreciate, folks, why I change the odd word here and there, right? We're getting listened to. The algorithm listens to us. Yes. Anyone that likes that ASMR or AMSR, have at it. You can loop that around and do whatever you do with it. It was in the same week that an important development was made. The vampire culprit was finally seen, up close and personal, so to speak, and the witness was a woman named Maria Acevedo, who caught sight of a monstrously sized, screaming and screeching winged beast that landed atop of her home and which clambered about her zinc roof, making an almighty racket in the process. It went something like this. Rah, rah. That's how the pterodactyls go where I come from. And it was clearly no normal bird, around 4 or 5 feet in height. I mean, that noise alone, if you couldn't see the bird, you would think it was a pterodactyl, right? It was described as being similar in appearance to a pterodactyl, a presumed extinct flying reptile of the Jurassic era. And whatever the true nature of the monster, it quickly took to the skies and vanished into a starry darkness. Now, we're almost through the pterodactyls. I think it's only fair that we finish the pterodactyl off. Couldn't eat a whole one, mind you. Imagine driving late at night across the foggy moors of central England and coming across what looks like nothing less than a living, breathing pterodactyl. I don't think there's any need to put the breathing in there. If it's living, I think it goes without saying it's probably breathing. I'm not going to be going up and putting my back of the hand to its mouth to make sure it's breathing. It's flying. I'm pretty happy it's breathing. Think it couldn't happen? It already has. So in 1982 to 1983, a wave of sightings of such a creature, presumed extinct for 65 million years, unless they brought one back in the time capsule, right? Polly was talking about that. That's a crazy thing. Footprints of man beside dinosaur. Did they bring a dinosaur back? If they did, there could be a colony of dinosaurs somewhere, right? Make a good film, that, wouldn't it? Jurassic Park. Occupied in the area called the Pennines, better known as the backbone of England, and comprised of rolling hills and mountains. Now, as far as can be determined, the first encounter occurred at a place with the highly apt name of Devil's Punch Bowl on the September 12th, 1982. Now, what on earth's name had led, at some point in history, to people saying, we'll remember this place from now on as the Devil's Punch Bowl? It's got to have been something pretty sinister, right? It's got to have been. So that was when a man named William Green came forward with an astonishing story of what he encountered at Shipley Glen Woods. It was a large, grey-coated creature that flew in haphazard style and which possessed a pair of large, leathery-looking wings. The latter point is notable, since it effectively rules out a significantly sized feathery bird and does indeed place matters into a pterodactyl category. 72 hours later, a woman named Jean Schofield had the misfortune to see the immense beast at the West Yorkshire town of Yeadon. Now, that the thing was heading for Leeds Bradford Airport provoked fears in Schofield's mind of a catastrophic mid-air collision between a passenger plane and a mighty winged thing. Now, we only have her word to go on, and let's say she absolutely witnessed something like that. That must have been some size for one of your first thoughts to be, damn, that's going to make a mess if it flies into a plane. That must have been some size. Again, it doesn't have to be a pterodactyl, but I'm definitely open to the fact there could be species of birds we know nothing about. Maybe. Or maybe we sometimes share the same space as different times. Maybe we get a bleed through from one time period to another. maybe just like they say in the quantum realm, and if quantum stuff doesn't make sense to you, well done. You've been listening correctly. It's not meant to make sense. But they say that the past, present, and the future all happens at once. It's all going on right now. Dinosaurs right up to whatever. Transhumans and beyond. That's the case. Is there some way? Is there some mechanism, some concept that, would work into this kind of, we can see into the past, different times, at different times for whatever reason? I don't know. But with advancements in DNA and weird stuff like that, folks, and the way the world is in 2020, would it be tremendously surprising if we found out that they have, like, tried to recreate a pterodactyl? I mean, I don't think I would go full T-Rex with my CRISPR set just at the start. You don't want to be getting that real, A-type predator class. You don't want one of them jumping about in the lab. A pterodactyl, you could probably handle right out the bat, right? Pretty cute little thing when it's growing up, little birdie. It soon gets a big birdie, but you know what they're like? They're wacky scientists out there. They truly are. You look at some of the things they create, some of the theories they come up with. Tell me in some lab somewhere, two scientists haven't looked at each other and thought, will we? Will we? And I wonder how many times things like that happens in a lab. And thankfully, we don't get to know about most of it. Thankfully. In fact, hopefully, we don't get to know about any of it. Because, again, reality could be stranger than fiction can ever be. So, we've got the pterodactyl out the way. I thought that was a good kind of addendum to our Mothman at the weekend. But it kind of starts a whole ancient thing. And before we get into the mammoth and the bacteria, just one last thing to show you, and keep in mind, okay? Keep in mind the other night, the conversation, inevitably, when we were talking about this, you have to discuss drones, okay? Andy's a drone enthusiast, Spooky Andy, and we have conversations. Back when we were talking about drones and things, he would tell me how it's easy. You can get, like, stuff, you can do your drone up, you can make it look like pretty much anything you want. Now, I can't think of a practical reason why you would make a drone look like that, apart from maybe to con somebody like me into thinking that you're looking at Mothman. I get it, okay? But drones, and you might have seen the headline, I know, amateur hour. Check this out. This was a CIA nuclear-powered bird drone. It says newly classified CIA documents have revealed details of a secretive Cold War spy drone that looked like a bird. So if this was back in Cold War around the 1960s time, kind of covert things are they coming up with now? We know they can make drones like tiny little things, like bugs. So who knows? And really, is there any need for that anymore? When most of us carry a pretty proficient spying device around on us, I think we call it the smartphone. We're pretty much open to being surveilled anywhere with our own microphones, our own cameras, our own technology that we paid hard cash for. Yep, De Niro laid it down for it. And little did we know, not only inviting a spying device into the house, but we were paying through the nose for it. I do not know. So then, unfortunately, our good friend Mammoth Hunter can't be here right now because it's like middle of the night in Australia. But I must admit, I did have a little grin on my face, and I did think of her when I seen this next headline today. Now, if you've watched the Australian shows, Jess definitely doesn't look like she's 10,000 years old, and she doesn't look like she's emerged from the bottom of a Russian lake. But we've got a new mammoth in the house. And myself and Jimmy Jeans, big shout out to Jimmy if he's out there, we talk about the mammoth that they found before, and in its belly, it had like undigested food. Now, that kind of suggests, okay, I'm not going to say it proves, but it suggests that whatever happened to that mammoth, it happened really quickly, like an instant freezing, almost like the magnetic fields or something were taken away. We were exposed to the harsh, cold temperatures of space and whoosh, just instant ice age type thing, right? Just cryogenically froze the big fella. Well, I'm not sure if we're going to get any details of the guts or anything about this one, but it's still a pretty amazing find. It says remains of a 10,000-year-old woolly mammoth pulled from a Siberian lake. So rare finds include skin, tendon, and the brown stuff of what is thought to be an adult male. How do they know that? Was it lying there looking all toxic and chauvinistic? I'm just saying. Russian scientists, from the motherland, are poring over the uniquely well-preserved bones of a 10,000-year-old woolly mammoth after completing the operation to pull them from the bottom of a Siberian lake. Experts spent 5 days scouring the silt of Lake Pechin in Neleva, in the remote Yamal Peninsula, for the remains, which include tendons, skin, and even excrement, after they were spotted by local residents. About 90% of the animal has been retrieved during 2 expeditions. Look at the size of that thing, man. It's mammoth. Such things are happening with increasing regularity in Siberia as climate change warms the Arctic at a faster pace than the rest of the world, thawing the ground in some areas long locked in the permafrost. So the woolly mammoth will probably be named Tadibe. That's a crap name. Tadibe the woolly mammoth. Why not call it Wookie? Wookie would have been a far better name. Woolly would have been a better name as well. After the family who discovered the adult animal, okay then, hats off. They discovered it. They deserve a kind of name recognition. I get it. Which is thought to have been a male between 15 and 20 years old and about 10 feet, 3 meters tall. That's terrifying. Get a good bowl. I wonder if you could make soup out of that. I wonder. Probably make a good pan of old mammoth soup. So Andrei Gusev from the Centre of Arctic Research said that the preservation of the animal was unique, with the lower spine still connected by tendons and skin, but that the retrieval operation was painstaking because the remaining bones were jumbled up. We assume that the bones were preserved in the anatomical order, but the first and the second days of our expedition showed that it was true only about the back part of the skeleton, he said. The rest of the bones were in such chaotic order that it was impossible to guess where they were. So, yeah, look at the size of that, folks. Says of particular interest is the excrement or the coprolite. I like that. It's a very scientific name for. Because it will contain details of the animal's diet, as well as pollen and other environmental clues. What if there's like a trace? Imagine they found a trace of a human in there. That would throw things really. That would be like pretty bizarre, right? So, or maybe even the bones of a pterodactyl in its poop. The cause of the mammoth's death is not clear yet, as no signs of injuries were found on the bones, and researchers have found mammoth fossils dating up to 30,000 years ago in Russia. Scientists circulated images in December of a prehistoric puppy, thought to be 18,000 years old, and was found in the permafrost region of Russia's Far East in 2018. There's a little puppy there. There you go. Damn, dude. I am at permafrost. It's certainly when it comes to preserving things, it must be like an archaeologist, an anthropologist. I don't know what these people are called. Scientist's wet dream, right? Because everything's almost like near perfectly preserved. And why'd I keep an eye on like archaeology and things like that? We've been talking a lot about alien disclosure this year. Obviously, a lot of stories out there doing the rounds. I urge you all to check out the Black Vault, John Greenwald. I'm going to try and get him on the show. He's got a very interesting take on all of the latest news coming out about disclosure. But that's the reason I like to keep a little eye on some of the things that they're digging up out the ground. Because if Project Bluebeam is anything near something real, and that's one of the first stages, never forget that. Strange archaeological finds that will throw our present picture of history, although people coming to this channel, we've got a pretty fluid picture of history, right? I think most of us will admit that so much of it we can't really accurately date, and there's so much of it that we don't know if it was just put in there or bits that have been hidden. Some archaeological find's going to come along and it's going to change the game, though. It's going to be a biggie. It's not possibly going to be the mammoth. Probably won't be the mammoth poop either. Probably won't be a pterodactyl in there. Probably gone way too far out in my bingo card for 2020. But that's how it all begins. That's how it all begins, folks. It might end with the last card, like Carol says. But never forget, it all begins with a really kind of, to begin with, it'll seem a bit kind of, well, nothing much to see here. And then there'll be a eureka moment. There'll probably be a National Discovery documentary. They'll probably blow the cobwebs of Zawi Hawass. He'll probably come out. He'll be doing a dance out in the Egyptian desert, if it's in Egypt, obviously. It'd be silly doing a dance there if they find something in Mexico, but you get where I'm going with it. So yeah, that's why it's always good to keep a little eye on what they're digging up from down below. As above, so below. So one last thing before we go away today. They might not have re-engineered the pterodactyl just yet, but in an equally insane headline, they have actually dinosaur era microbes brought back to life. Now, how can that be a good thing? I'm sorry, I was going to try and take this seriously and then kind of riffed on it at the end, but I don't think anything good can happen from this, folks. And I'm not saying it's doom and gloom and it's the end of the world. I'm not saying that. Not at all. However, you know, maybe some things from the past are better just left there. Especially when you're talking about our immune systems the way they are today. I don't know if we want to be dealing with some old ancient bacteria or virus that maybe humans have never even experienced before. Maybe only the dinosaurs went through it. And look what it done to them. Have you ever seen how bad the dinosaurs looked? You don't want that happening to you. So no, I don't think there should be. Hey, Polly.
PPP and a PPP mycelial love and hugs to all.
Yes, the mycelial love indeed. So I don't know about this, folks. Hey, who knows? Maybe they'll re-engineer them and there'll be some super duper cure for everything. Only typically stories don't work like that, do they? So it says scientists have discovered or successfully revived microbes found in sediment samples that are over 100 million years old. I don't know about any of you, but there's definitely a cut-off point for me when I'm going to resuscitate anything. I mean, I don't have, like, I'm not ageist or anything, but there's a certain extreme that you'll go to when you're given that kiss of life. Now, I get it. Nobody, like, had to straddle one of these microbes and give it a literal kiss of life. That had been minging. Wouldn't work. Don't think that's how it works with microbes. But just in case we ever land in that kind of terrible situation, I don't want any grey areas. How I got here, I don't know. The samples, which date back to a time before even the Tyrannosaurus Rex roamed the Earth, were retrieved from the bottom of the Pacific 10 years ago by the drill ship Joyde's Resolution. So the region in question, which is known as the South Pacific Gyre, descends to a depth of over 20,000 feet. And the microbes were found around 328 feet beneath the sediment. That's a long way down. That's a lot of pressures, and perhaps something that's that far away from humans, that far out of reach of us. Maybe we ought to be leaving it there. We've got like 100 million years without them, allegedly. I just think maybe it's probably a good idea just to leave them be. So it goes on to say here, our main question was whether life could exist in such a nutrient-limited environment, or if this was a lifeless zone. And we wanted to know how long the microbes could sustain life in the near absence of food. Incredibly, when the researchers provided the long-dormant microbes with nutrients, oh, scary, they came back to life despite their extreme age. Now, anyone that's into a bit of cryogenics, I imagine these microbes are going to be like rock stars in the cryogenic world. They've basically cracked what people would love to do. I don't know if I'd like get myself frozen till a later date. And the idea being, you kind of cheat the ferryman, right? Say you're diagnosed with something that we don't have a cure for today. Well, maybe if you had enough money, you could go to one of these wacky people that like freeze you until a time when technology's advanced and theoretically they wake you up, they thaw you out, you get the treatment that wasn't available back when you went to sleep, and you live on as if no time has passed at all. That's the theory. There's a good TV show, Wayward Pines. It's really weird, it's really bizarre, it's really out there. It's done now, it's finished, but cryogenics is a big, strong part of that. It really is. So, yeah, I think that's about all that we've got for today. I'm going to take a little drink of coffee, PPP. We'll get back in a minute. I'll give you all a little shout out, and then we'll get ready for the Nano Girl. Nano Girl coming on the Kev Baker show in just over 30 minutes. We're going to be talking about time for heroes. Oh, and indeed it is. 70 souls in here. Big shout out to all of you. Thank you so much. And remember, head on over tfrlive.com. We'll be hanging out with the Nano Girl in half an hour's time. But I'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. There we go. Yes, come back into that chat room. Thank you, Queen. Always good to see you. Yeah, enjoyed today. Good buzz this week. Oh, wrong camera. Yeah, some weeks better mojo than others. But yeah, we're having fun this week. And these topics, I love getting into all the ancient stuff. I've said time and time again, there's a lot to be learned if we look backwards in time instead of just this focused kind of blinkered always forward momentum of technology and innovation today, when really maybe all of the stuff that we already need is already all around us. But yeah, bringing back ancient bacteria can't go well. Don't think so. Is there pterodactyls flying about in the night sky? The majority, the biggest part of me wants to say absolutely not, but there's still that little part, that bit that keeps the mind open for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo, remember? Yeah, there's always a place for the pterodactyls, the mothmen, all that good stuff here on the Kev Baker show. And there's always a place for all of you as well, right? Think of all this good stuff that we've talked about today. You don't have to agree with some of my opinions on it. There's so much good stuff going on in the world. There's so much exciting stuff going on in the world. And I know, I know, it's so hard sometimes, some days, to get up and appreciate that. But there really is. And despite everything going on out there right now, I would like to think that we've managed to keep a little smile on our face. And in the end of the day, that's one thing. That's one thing that, as Kevin from Minnesota says, it can cure so many ills. Just a smile, just a laugh. Just enjoying the giggles of the universe. And I know it's quite hard to stay upbeat at times and stay optimistic and have that kind of mindset, but I think it's so important, now more than ever, especially if we are those little intention antennas and generators that we speculate that we may be. What better time for us to be sending out some of that positive vibes? And you can call me New Agey, I don't care what you call me, I'm just Kev. Just a guy talking. I paint with my words. Yes, indeed. I'm a lyrical artist. But no, I think if we do try and as much as we can without getting to the point of ignoring all that important stuff. But it is important to have that balance, and I hope I can give you that little bit of light relief, a little bit of comedy along the way, and absolutely banging woo. Top-notch woo. Abnormal, paranormal to the next level. Absolutely. Don't delete this vid. Wanna brag. I got gold in dawn. Way. Now, what, is this a game? What are you playing now, dude? What are you playing these days, Sid? I think that's going to come in a little second here. I hope. No, I'm going to have to put on an alert box. Give me 2 secs. Let me see. There we go. Brian, get in here. Okay, Kev.
Don't delete this vid, wanna brag. I got gold in dawn.
Dawn. Dawn? Gold and dawn. What? Dawn. Can't think of what game that is, dude. But it sounds good. If you got gold in it, it was good. You told me I talked to... Oh, right. Now you see. I was thinking it was some acronym. Some acronym for, like, some game that you were playing. I was thinking, is it... This can't be Dungeons and Dragons, so it's definitely not Dawn. Is it Dungeons on Nuggets? You had me confused there, dude. I thought you'd got a gold medal in something, but no, it was absolutely radio classic, golden moment. I wish I could have seen Don's face when he was sitting there thinking, no, I've never been asked that before. Ever. So listen, Tessa, we've got Sid in there, we've got Jingle Your Shingles from Tessa, that's some phrase. We've got Polly, Sidvich again, Queen Goddess, Lewis, Lance, Woody Walker, loving it, man, loving it. ZX is in there, throwing up some unicorns and some poops. We've got Black Tree, he's away swimming, or she's away swimming. Have a good time, Black Tree, have fun, that's what it's all about. Trent is looking for some mammoth soup. I reckon that'd be pretty cool. Mammoth burger as well, oh, lovely. Basic Materials. Big shout out to you. Tony Phillips in there as well. We've got BPD Warrior. Karen, big shout out to you. Now, I think we've got, who else is in there? Black Tree, I think I've done that one. Nothing as it seems. St. Marionette. Cheryl, yes, indeed. We have got Kazi. Good to see you, Kazi. Lance again, Kazi, oh, and it's all going off in the chat room. Gemini Moon, these are all absolutely awesome. AJ, you're in there as well. Sid, Tony, yep. I think that's about it, folks, and I'm going to go now. I'm going to have a nice plate of stew and potatoes. Oh, I can smell it cooking in the background, smells lovely. Then I'm going to get Nano Girl, and then we are going to raise the bar on KBS over on TFR again. TFRlive.com for the Kev Baker Show. Starting 10 p.m. in the UK, 5 p.m. on the East Coast, 2 p.m. on the West Coast. I don't know what the time is down under. You'll need to adjust your clocks accordingly. But 23 minutes from now. Damn, almost couldn't do the math there. Never good. I'll be live with one of your favourites, one of my favourites, the Nano Girl. And again, it's almost like we're in some kind of nostalgia loop. We went back in time today, and in recent months on the show in 2020, we've gone back in time because we've gone back to that vibe where we have Nano coming on a regular basis, and that whole kind of nostalgia loop that we're in right now. Me really enjoying that. So before I go, remember, check out Jason, First Paranormal, check out Algorithm, check out Polly, check out Sidvich's channel as well. Anyone else that wants their channel recommended, get in touch with me. I don't mind giving you a shout out. Just don't let me down and become one of those clowns on YouTube. That would really disappoint me. But until next time, keep it real, folks, and I'll speak to you real soon. And remember, it's a time for heroes. Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.